Are you guys ready for another laminating video? I felt like it was a great time to revisit and to give you guys some additional tips and tricks since, the past couple years I've learned a little bit more. I've been doing this longer. So I'm going to bring you along for the journey. Right now I'm going to get these trackers prepped and ready. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting all of these out. And we're just going to talk through, again, some of the things that I have learned, I have noticed, and that I maybe am trying out for the first time with trackers and laminating. So these are printed on cardstock. I always use cardstock for the trackers because I just feel like it holds up so much better. And I like to use the bright white 110-pound cardstock paper. Now, I used to buy it at Walmart, and I've had a few different occasions where I went to buy it and they were out of stock. So I did find a company on Amazon, and it's in my Amazon link. If you guys want to check that out, it's in my description. But it is 110-pound bright white cardstock, and it actually is a lot more. It's like twice, I think, as many papers. It's like 200 and some sheets of paper. So it's way more than the pen and gear, which I used to get. And it has helped out a lot because I'm printing more, I'm laminating more. So this is a 12-month challenge. It has a different Bible verse on it, and they're all verses from Psalms. So I wanted to just show you guys this. I am getting this laminated and ready because I want to try these trackers out. So normally when I laminate, I do not cut into the bubble area. And I've done that just since I started laminating, no matter what, whether I was making it in an envelope or if I'm just making it into a tracker, if it's one of my cash withdrawal slips. I know, hi, I know that they hold up a lot longer when you don't cut into the laminating bubble. But you guys have asked, and a lot of you like it when the tracker is, cut without any edges, without any of the clear edges. So I felt like it was a good idea to try this out. I did an order already like this, but I obviously don't know the quality of how it's going to hold up. So I felt it was best to make these trackers and to cut them the way that you guys have been requesting and asking, and then use them myself because I want to see how they actually hold up compared to regular trackers, when you just laminate it and you leave that extra edge. Now, I also have, this is a new tracker here, and I'm going to create an envelope with this. So if you have watched my other video with how to make cash envelopes, this is going to be very similar, but again, I just wanted to show you guys kind of the difference and go through what I like to do, how I like to set it up. So I do personally like to cut these with scissors. I have tried so many different paper cutters that, I don't know, I just don't love the way the edges look once I am using them, and I could get a different one. I could try another paper cutter, but I've gotten so used to cutting these with scissors that I just end up doing it this way. That way I know that it's straight. So that's what I have those borders for on most of my trackers and envelopes and the savings challenges and sinking funds. I like to put the border around it because then it's really easy for you guys to cut them. And I will also make a note, if you print them on paper, they do end up a little bit smaller than when you print them on cardstock. So it's much better to make envelopes out of the cardstock because they're a little bit bigger. Now, here I have my 5mm laminating sheets. I have this is actually commercial grade laminator. So let me show you the laminator I used to have, which I do still use occasionally. But this one was starting to really cause me some problems with how much I was laminating, and I just felt like I needed to really invest in my business and step it up to the commercial grade. This goes up to 10mm laminating, and whenever I'm doing cash envelopes where it's a 2-layer, I actually like to do 7mm for the heat setting. So now we have to wait for this to heat up, and I will be right back. I'm going to go ahead and get my tea, but really, you're going to only have to wait a couple, like maybe a minute or two. So on my other one, the Scotch brand, that actually takes quite a few minutes to heat up. And as you can see, this is beeping down there. There is a little blue light, and that is going to stay on once it is completely ready for us to laminate. In the meantime, I can go ahead and get all of the trackers here. I can start getting them in the laminating pouches. And because you're only making these into trackers, you don't really have to worry so much about lining these up or having enough space to make an envelope, because you're not going to be, leaving any excess laminating sheet outside of the tracker. So you don't need room for hole punching or anything like that, which is nice. If you have any hairs or dust, it looks like it's ready to go. if you have any hairs, dust, or things like that, make sure that you get those off. And then you're just going to feed this in with the sealed end going first. You always want to make sure that the sealed end is going first in your laminating machine to make sure it doesn't mess up. So the process for this is going to be a little bit slow. You want to make sure that it takes its time going through. And I've also learned that you can prop up something in the front side where you're feeding it to allow them to go in. You just want to make sure that it's straight and flat so that your item doesn't get like crinkled up or ruined as it's being fed through the laminator. So I'm going to go ahead and continue laying these into the envelopes, and like I said, I will speed through this because it does take a long time. So for you to sit here and watch all of these being laminated in real time would be a really long video. So now once I have those trackers done, I am going to switch gears to actually put this through the laminator. Now this says to do it every 10. I probably don't do it that frequent and often, but it basically is going to clean the laminating machine and make sure there's no residue, and it should also help the longevity of your laminator. All right, so now I'm getting the envelope ready for what we are going to laminate. This is also a placeholder, like prop money, and then I have the cash withdrawal slip. So those are all gonna go in. Now, when you have an envelope, I highly recommend putting that down at the part that's already sealed. It is really hard to put the envelopes at the top end where you've seen me maybe do that in the previous video. I've noticed that it messes up a lot more. So I try to do single sheets up at that top portion where I'm putting those cash withdrawal slips. And this is an envelope that I had done that goes with that one teller slip. So yeah, just little tips that make it a little bit easier. You know, I have done this and done orders, and I've had to redo a lot of envelopes and things that have messed up. So when you are laminating them, I want to make sure that, you know, you have the best option to get it finished the first time so you don't have to continue redoing it. This is the cutter that I use for my laminating sheets. Now, I do like to cut through multiple sheets. I've never cut through quite this many, so there are 4 here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try and see if I can kind of cut through all of these. You have to push down, but it got through all but 1. So I was able to get through 3 of those. But because I'm going to be cutting these so close to the tracker, it really doesn't matter, you know, how straight everything is aside of that. All this excess is just going to get cut off. So I'm going to then shift gears now to start getting these cut and trimmed down. And like I said, because we're using them as just Savings Challenge trackers and not envelopes, they're going to be cut like right up against that border of the cardstock. So as you can see, I'm trimming up each one of these. All this excess is gone. And now you can see the difference here for the edge, right? So this is right up against it, whereas my envelope, you see on the side there, there's a bit of a bubble, and you can see that clear portion. So that is going to be necessary when you do an envelope because you have 2 different pieces of cardstock that have to be laminated together. If you cut into that bubble, it will completely come apart. And like I said, this is my first time trimming the trackers this close to the edge and cutting into the bubble. So I'm very curious to see how long these will hold up. And if you end up ordering or wanting me to do this for you as like a print and ship option, just keep that in mind. That, you know, when you leave them with the bubble around the outside, they're going to last a lot longer. But I know that a lot of people love the way that they look like this, and you know, it's, if you don't mind, and if it's something that, you know, you're going to use for a couple months or maybe a year and then be done with, then it should be okay. I just don't know, you know, again, past that, how much long, because the edges will start to probably pull back and peel a little bit because you no longer have that seal of the 2 sheets together, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the prop money here. So this is a like placeholder for $500, and I'm going to cut that the same way that I cut the trackers. And then, sorry, you can see my head. I didn't realize how far in the camera I was. And then for the envelope, I'm going to leave the bubble on the edge, and I'm going to make sure to cut enough space for hole punches at the bottom because I do want to hole punch this as well. So this is the little hole puncher that I use for the A7, A6 envelopes. I started doing a lot more A6, and I had to label it actually because if you even are off like a hair, it's not going to fit in your binder right. And these hole punches always have a 2-inch distance in between the two center holes, if that makes sense. So the cash withdrawal slips, I am going to continue cutting these as well. And I normally do leave the bubble around these. Again, you can cut into these because it's only one sheet of paper. So if you're doing something where it's one sheet of paper and you don't really need it to last like a super long time, you know, if you don't mind that eventually it's going to like show signs of wear and have the laminating come off, then you can just cut through that bubble. If you have it as a dashboard, if you have it as an envelope where it's two pieces of cardstock together, or like my Bible bookmark or the Bible Savings Challenge where it's two pieces of cardstock, I would not cut into that bubble because you're going to need it to stay together. I know a lot of you have asked with the laminating bookmarks if I can, you know, cut into that, but it's not printed like double-sided. It's actually two pieces of cardstock, and it helps to make it a lot sturdier too. So now I'm going to show you guys this challenge here. We're going to kind of get this all assembled, and I do have the back designs. I just did 3 different designs that you can alternate, or you could print off and use just the one, or don't have to use them at all. So I did not laminate these. These are just cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave them in the envelope because I'm not going to be drawing on them or using them for anything, whereas the tracker I am going to be coloring in, but I want it to be reusable. So that's the benefit of laminating them. Now I am going to go ahead and feed these back through the laminating machine just to make sure it's all sealed and good. And again, this is after I've cut them. And I think that this is always good to do once you're kind of finished cutting and trimming, just to make sure there's no more bubbles and to get it as sealed as possible along the edges. It really does help, and I like to feed a lot of these envelopes back through one more time. So I've got these done. I'm going to set these here over to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and get those trackers ready to put into the binder. Now, I'm going to do a quick little savings for you to show you guys, and you know what? These clear envelopes tricked me, and I thought my tracker was out, and it was actually the envelope. The good news is you can still use the rubbing alcohol wipes and get that off. So I'm now taking my Sharpie to color in and fill in a 10 on this tracker. Again, because it's laminated, I can fill these all out, and then when I'm done, I can use the rubbing alcohol wipe and just remove all of the Sharpie, and then I could start the challenge again. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope that this made sense and helped, and if you guys have any more questions, please leave them below. Otherwise, you can get some of these materials that I've used in my Amazon link that's in the description, and you can find all of these trackers, savings challenges, and fun budgeting items in my Etsy shop. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like this video and share with somebody if they're trying to make their own savings challenges for the year. And until the next time, may God continue to bless you. See you soon.